watch it was 11 o'clock Eastern time to 3 a.m. Like, I don't think there was PGA Tour live. All right, so we are live. Speaking of live, Monday edition of the Slate, baby. Let's go. How about this sexy, handsome, moist trio? Jeff Ulrich, Gary and Thorne.
Yeah.
Yours truly is Emerson Latzia, DK on the ones and twos, producer Eamon behind the scenes. Baby, I am so in. Producer Eamon said, hey, can you help out tonight and host? First thing then immediately before I even committed, I go, well, who am I doing it with? And he said, Jeff Ulrich. And I immediately, within a second, said, hell yeah. And then he was like, Gary's in. I said, hell effing yeah. Anywho, good to see you, Gare Bear.
Hello.
What's good, man?
Nothing, man. I'm doing great. I got the day off aside from this. Got a fantasy basketball draft tonight. Maybe watch some baseball. Definitely watch some football.
Okay.
Good times ahead.
Okay. All right. I love it. Jeff Ulrich, good to have you here as well.
Thanks. I'm tired from carrying Reed's load, by the way. But yeah, thanks for asking.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, not a problem. I'm happy to help.
Okay, great. Just wanted to get that in.
Let's go week 6. Before we go to tonight, which week 6, we'll wrap up everybody with the Broncos and the Chargers. The Broncos getting 4 points on the road in LA. Jeff, biggest winner in your eyes from week 6 was who or what and why?
Man, biggest winner. I guess it's the Eagles, right? I mean, like, everyone's waiting for the Eagles. Oh, they haven't played anyone. Oh, we can't judge them properly. Well, they just smoked the team who beat the Rams, who beat the Bengals, who had a bunch of quality wins, who's everyone's like little upset darlings, and Cooper Rush is going to take over the starting job, and they just clowned him. I mean, they literally just, I know it ended up being a tiny bit close, but I mean, that game was really never close. So you got to go there. And then, I mean, like, the Bills getting another feather in their cap. We already knew the Bills were good. So
yes,
I think it's really last week was about the Eagles getting credibility, and none of the other teams who we thought would be good doing anything. It's like, now there's a little bit of separation. Green Bay stinks. Tampa Bay stinks.
Wow.
Like, who is good in the NFC other than Philadelphia right now? It's up for debate, man. The 49ers, again, if you want a little dark horse, I mean, like, I really like what Atlanta's doing this year, but I don't know how long that story will last, but I do like some of the pieces they have. So yeah, big step forward for the Eagles, and everyone else is just stuck in neutral.
Gare Bear, at the top of the NFC South, there are the Bucks and there are the Falcons. And the Falcons have become this betting darling of the NFL too, because they're 6-0 ATS right now. But I'm telling you what, if you ask me what my biggest takeaway was, it's that Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, those two teams look absolutely cooked. They combined to throw like 2 touchdowns in 2 losses yesterday. And that was against the Steelers and the Jets, dude. So who was your biggest winner?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could kind of tie all that together and say that the Falcons were just a massive winner because, as Jeff was alluding to, aside from the Eagles, who do you really trust in the NFC? I mean, the Falcons, while they've looked really bad for, 3-quarter chunks at a time, you could even make the case that they were kind of really, really screwed out of a win in week 5, or at least the opportunity to get a win in week 5, in a game that could be even more important than we realized at the time, given how close the NFC South standings might be, 6, 7, 8 weeks from now. But they're good on offense. They are one of the most efficient offenses in the NFL. Clearly their defense is a little bit better than maybe I was giving it credit for coming into the season. I just think that this is a team that really showed me something on Sunday. I mean, I had really penciled the Niners in as a defense that could humble that Falcons offense, and that just was not the case. So I think they're a winner in a weird way. Like, here's a very tangential winner. Anyone who still wants to bet Ravens futures, I think you're a winner from this week, because the Ravens, to me, are like the most dominant 3-3 team of all time. Their 3 losses, when you really stack them up, I believe they've only actually been trailing for 7 minutes of gameplay in 2022. Yeah, it is absolutely incredible how they have blown leads in the last couple of minutes. It all just seems like complete nonsense. They're a very good team. So I'm still a believer in the Ravens, and maybe this is another week where you have time to buy in and get on that bandwagon at a reasonable price.
I love that point by you, Gary, because Baltimore has no one but itself to blame. And the Ravens being 3-3, you mentioned the blown leads. That was their third double-digit lead of the season that they have blown. And right now, their season, Jeff Ulrich, is on the brink of potentially spiraling if they don't fix a lot of issues that have become so freaking familiar over the past few years. Like they're one of in my opinion, they're one of my biggest losers. What about you? Do you have a big loser from week 6, Jeff?
The Ravens definitely would be up there. I mean, they blew a chance too. Like for so long, looked like the Ravens were going to win and the Bengals were going to lose. And like that just flipped. Like Joe Burrow doing this is why I don't know if I can buy in on the Ravens. Like I don't disagree that they're like, I don't know what to think about the Ravens. I was one of the only ones preseason who was like, this team feels overrated to me. And now I'm kind of like getting biased, but Garian's right. So I don't know. Anyways, definitely a big loser. I think that, like the biggest losers to me feels like teams that we already knew were losers. Like, I hate to say it, but it's true. Like the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, Arizona Cardinals
Cliff
had a chance
Kingsbury's days are numbered.
Yeah,
they're numbered.
Absolutely.
No. Robbie Anderson's going to fix it all, guys. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, that's going to go great. I was going to make a meme, but I ran out of time with Robbie Anderson saying, "Oh, great, I got traded," and then I got traded.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I mean, Cliff Kingsbury is getting exposed this year. He absolutely is. It's no shock. I bet the Cardinals is the under is basically one of my hammer bets preseason. It's working. They should have one win. Actually, you could argue they should have no wins, but they should have one win. They beat the Panthers, yippity doo. They had a fluke win against the Raiders. This team is bad. Kyler Murray is like last in yards per pass attempt. I mean, how does that even happen?
I don't know.
Like, what kind of offense are you running where Kyler Murray is last in the league in that? So I just like DeAndre Hopkins might help this team a bit, but I don't think it's going to matter much. Robbie Anderson is just kidding, like whatever.
Yeah, because Hollywood Brown's out now 6 weeks, Jeff. I mean, everyone's like,
so the one explosive
traded for
player
Robbie Anderson, and then the news came out.
Yeah.
Go ahead, dude.
Yeah. Anyways, like to me, like I mean, again, like that team we already knew was down, but they just feel done. The Panthers are just like a walking dumpster fire. I mean, oh my God, like the coach yelling at players on the sidelines. So that's I mean, but these are teams we kind of already knew, and that now it's just like they just feel like we can just like push them to the side now, the Cardinals. So I mean, that's kind of interesting. And then, I mean, like. I don't know about anyone else being like massive losers. I mean, again, like the Cowboys losing to the Eagles, we kind of knew that was going to happen. KC losing to the Bills. It's the Bills. It's not that big a deal. But yeah, I mean, I like Green Bay and Tampa Bay really is like, are these teams done? I mean, it kind of feels like it really felt like a changing of the guard week to me. And sometimes we overreact to these spots, but to me, that's what it felt like.
And for some reason, Gary and Matt LaFleur like refuses to make Aaron Jones the focal point of the offense too. It's just like, it's just so damn frustrating. And I know Rodgers isn't the only problem there. Like Green Bay's interior offensive line appears to be just more of a cluster F than we originally thought too. Do you have a big loser?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're gonna have 2 punts blocked in the same game, I would say interior offensive line and special teams. That's a big issue. And we've been talking about this for so long. With the Packers, they made so many moves, specific moves this offseason to try to shore up their special teams because that was their massive Achilles heel the past couple of seasons. And it does not look like anything has changed. So there's just so many issues right now with the Packers. I want to float this one past you, Emerson, because not only are you the #1 Jaguars fan in the country, can you even be a loser in that division? Like, I know it's a massive loss. Like it's a big missed opportunity for the Jaguars. They're now 2-4, but like how down bad would you have to be out of the race in the AFC South? You know what I mean? Like it was a bad loss. No. But it's still an entirely winnable division.
You're right. Like it's depressing for me, and I hate myself every Sunday, the fact that I love this team so much. But you have a blown 9-point lead in week 1 against Washington this past weekend. Like you had this drive in the fourth quarter. Trevor Lawrence for once did not lose the game for the Jaguars like he did against the Eagles and like he did against the Texans. There's an incredible stat I can spit off here in a second about him, which, the Jaguars setting history. It doesn't effing matter. But you had a 10-minute drive in the fourth quarter yesterday to take the lead. And then all of a sudden, your defense that has been so pissed at Trevor Lawrence over the past 2 effing weeks because he keeps losing football games for him. Can't stop the statue of Matt Ryan, for crying out loud. And they can't stop these freaking crossing routes. They've been doing it all game long. Change it. Change your effing defensive game plan. Oh, and Shaq Griffin, oh my God, bro, you're gone after this season because the team is definitely going to save $13 million by cutting your ass. Like, how do you let the Colts drive down like with 2 minutes to go and beat you? You're right, though. I don't know who's going to win the division. I would still bet the Jaguars right now. They're going to beat the Giants this upcoming weekend at home. Jags are 3-point favorites at home. The Giants are okay. I still think they're part fraud, to be honest with you, because I still don't believe in Danny Dimes. But anywho, yes, the division is still up in the air right now. Like, anybody can win that division right now. I think it's truly the one that is up in the air. Anybody can win that division, Jeff.
No, a lot to unpack there. I was just counting the number of effings.
Yeah.
You know what?
We're a family program.
I will say this: out of all that came out of that, I do like the Jags this week. I think this is a very big letdown spot for the Giants. I'm going to wait to see if we can get 2.5. But once we go there, I'll be happy to take the Jags. They still have a good defense. Trevor Lawrence is figuring things out. I think that overall, this probably won't be the year for the Jags, but you got to like what they're doing. They have a legitimate, competent head coach. Trevor Lawrence is going to keep working through this stuff. I think that, they've shown that they can hold themselves up against good teams, and they need to figure out how to beat the teams that they're supposed to beat. Like, it's happened. They probably should have won. They definitely should have beat the Texans. And they probably should have won.
Oh my God.
Week, so.
Yeah. And like, that Texans game is so frustrating because he throws that pick into triple coverage when they're on the goal line, when you could essentially just run that thing in there. Yep. And then you have a 14-point lead against the Eagles, for crying out loud. I know the weather was garbage, but you fumbled and lost the ball 4 times. Trevor Lawrence did. I'm sorry. This team right now could be 5-1. The Jacks could be 5-1 right now. They could be 6-0 right now. I'm over it, dude. I'm so
let's just go 7-0. Let's not. The Eagles game, they got a little bit lucky at the start too. They were never going to beat the Eagles. Let's just be realistic. Okay. But
I don't know, man.
You could take the Jags for a future if you wanted. I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah,
the division's open.
Yeah.
At the same time, the Titans have a winning record. They beat the Colts next week, and then you got Derrick Henry coming into Derrick Henry season. It's probably going to be the Titans again.
Yeah, he's the owner of the Jaguars, not Shad Khan. Damn it. Dude, guys, hold on real quick. I teased this stat. I got to deliver on my teases. Just yesterday, Trevor Lawrence, first quarterback in NFL history to have 20-plus passing attempts, complete 90% or more of his completion. So I think he was 20 of 22. 3 total touchdowns, 0 turnovers, 103 years of football. First and only time that's ever happened. You know what I mean? That's good stuff. That's good. He only threw for 175 yards. He didn't lose in the game because you know what? They turned back the effing clock, went to like Fred Taylor, Maurice Jones-Drew territory, and were running the hell out of the football down the deep throats of the Colts. I'm sick and tired of it. Stop losing games you can win. Gary, why did you do this to me? This is why my wife hates me. Because I get so passionate about the Jaguars, and she can't stand me on Sundays. She left yesterday for like 4 hours. I don't know where she was. I don't know.
Yeah.
She could have been anywhere.
That all the time.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever, dudes.
My fiance left, I think, during the Dolphins-Ravens game when it was 35-14 because I was too angry. And then she thought I was joking or delusional when I told her the Dolphins won later. She just wouldn't believe it. Because I can't be happy on a Sunday. Anyway.
No, you can't. And your Dolphins, by the way, one of 3 teams yesterday to have to play a third-string quarterback. I mean, you had Zappy with the
Week
Patriots,
7 goal is to
Walker.
have their starting quarterback last the entire game. I don't even care about winning anymore. Just have one quarterback play the whole game.
Speaking of that, we forgot to hit on it on the top of the show. So Jeff, Cardinals. I actually think we did mention it, right? We have Robbie Anderson who was traded to them, but then Hollywood Brown's out. Nuke's going to be playing this week. That's Thursday Night Football against the Saints. I think there was one other one. Oh, Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz now going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, guys. It looks like. So Jeff, your boy Heineke is going to take over. It wouldn't shock me if they actually won a few games with him under center either.
Yeah, Carson Wentz is not a leader of men. I don't know why teams haven't figured this out yet, but Taylor Heineke is probably a boost for Washington. The Cardinals game. I don't even want to talk about that game.
Yeah,
the Commanders, at home against the Packers. I mean, all of a sudden, like the Packers, I don't know what they're doing as 5.5 favorites right now. I guess the Commanders are that bad, but it's,
but like the Packers aren't good.
No, that's what I mean. I mean, you can make the argument like Heineke probably is just going to be a better quarterback for them in there too. He can run the ball a little bit. So that's going to be an interesting situation to monitor. And then, yeah, as far as the Cardinals go, I mean, I don't even have anything. Like, it's just, I
that's fine.
Take the Saints there.
Yeah.
I can't believe they're underdogs.
I mean, hell, dude, the Saints don't have anybody. Gare Bear. Like, I don't know. On a short week too, like, have you guys seen any news today? Like,
yeah, there were reports that Olave could be available.
What about Michael Thomas? What about Landry?
No, those guys most likely aren't going to play.
Is Winston ever coming back? What's going on there?
I don't. Yeah, it's tough. Again, the most I heard today was Thomas unlikely to play, Jarvis unlikely to play, Olave likely to play. So at that point, I mean, the Cardinals have been strangely amazing at shutting down wide receiver ones. So maybe if you don't have that many options aside Olave, that could be a little bit of an issue. At the same time, I mean, the Cardinals have just been so uninspiring this entire season. I don't think the presence of DeAndre Hopkins suddenly saves this team. No. Yeah, and I think, weren't people making jokes? Doesn't Call of Duty come out this week or something like that?
Obvious. Like they're just going to have to make a change in the offseason if they don't do it before then. Let's go to the AFC West. Forget the NFC West. We're over them. That's old news. Let's go to the AFC West. Let's go tonight, baby. Jeff, what is the bet? What's the play tonight on the DK Sportsbook? You said earlier on this show, and again, I tweeted out, and it's too late if you want to change your opinion because DK retweeted it as well, pal. All right. You were taking the Broncos and the points. You and Pierce Dietrich, who said, hey, listen, one bad coaching call tonight, one huge embarrassment, and Hackett's out of there. So why was it again that you liked the Broncos tonight getting 4 on the road?
So there's a couple reasons. I mean, like the Broncos are getting a couple players. I mean, they're getting Justin Simmons in the secondary, who's an All-Pro. They're getting Greg Dulcich into the passing game. Obviously, elite tight end. I mean, this is good. This is positive news. Russell Wilson has spoken about his injury. He said he's starting to feel better. You got to take him at his word. I don't think he could play worse. You've got a Chargers team who allows big plays, like in the secondary, yards per play. Their rush defense is pretty bad. The Broncos are a pretty efficient rush team, and they've brought in Latavius Murray, which, I mean, whatever. I think that just having Mike Boone back there is going to be enough. I think that the Broncos are going to move the ball, and I think that it's at 4 now. I mean, at 4, it's not something I love as much. At 4.5, I'm definitely on the Broncos. I think that half point is big. You're past 2 key numbers, especially 3. And give me the Broncos here. It's a division game. I like the Chargers. I do, but like, I think the Chargers will probably win, but this is a team who allows a lot of yards on defense. They're without Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams has done nothing against the Broncos. He did last year. He did nothing. He had 5 catches in 2 regular season games. I think it's a tough matchup. I think it's going to be close. I think the Broncos keep it close.
Hot damn. Broncos plus 1,400 to win the division. Chiefs minus 190, Chargers plus 225.
The Broncos are plus 1,400?
They're plus 1,400 to win the division right now on the DK Sportsbook. I'm not lying to you, bro. I would never lie to you. You're one of my best friends. I would never do that to you. Go ahead.
I'm going to bet that. I wish you hadn't told me that now, because now I'm going to bet it.
Okay, well, you're welcome, bro. When you're able to send your kids to Harvard here in like 8 years because of this one bet, all I ask is you Venmo me 20.
I'm only going to bet enough to send one kid to Harvard. So.
Well, yeah, or send your dog to boarding school, like a really fancy boarding school, like Nova Scotia or something like that. Gare Bear, what's your bet tonight, dude?
You know what? I'm on the other side.
I'm
of 2 minds in the sense that the Broncos have definitely been a better offensive team than the actual points show. Like, they have moved the ball, I think it's like a top 5 offense this season in terms of yards per drive. They've just been absolutely terrible in the red zone. And history would tell us you just don't continue to be that bad. At some point, this will normalize. Those field goals become touchdowns. At the same time, the biggest strength of the Broncos this season, really the only reason the Broncos have even found the slight amount of success they have found in 2022, is their defense. Yep. But when you start looking at the schedule, I'd like to see them really stop an above average offensive team. And they haven't seen anything approaching that this season, aside from maybe the Raiders. And that game sort of sticks out like a sore thumb on their schedule. I mean, the Raiders put up 32 points against the Broncos. That's more than the last 3 weeks combined of non-Raiders opponents. Like, the Chargers are not the Colts. You're not getting Matt Ryan tonight. You're not getting who else? Davis Mills. You're not getting, Geno Smith's been pretty good this season, granted, but the level of quarterback they have faced so far this season has not been great. And I have my reservations that this defense is actually as good as some of the statistics say they are. And if they're even slightly below average tonight, I just don't think the Broncos have the firepower on offense or have shown the ability to keep pace and maximize their drives to keep up with the Chargers. So I think I'll take the Chargers here, especially, as Jeff was alluding to, now that it's down to 4. It is kind of funny that when you said one bad coaching mistake could get Nathaniel Hackett fired, before you finish that sentence, I was like, yeah, one bad coaching mistake on either side. Like, there could honestly be something crazy from either one of these coaches that swings this game. I don't know.
Oh God, that effing, what is it? Going for it on like 4th and 1 or something when you were leading last week. Yeah. Oh, dude, they should have lost that game. It wasn't for what's his nuts missing the field goal, the Cleveland kicker, the rookie who's
even like if the Browns could have just picked up, I don't know, 5 yards in the 3 plays they had.
Dude.
But again, that sort of speaks to just the level of competition where I have yet to see the Broncos look competent against a good offense.
And you know what?
I think the Chargers have a good offense.
I know you're like this huge deep dive statistic nerd too, Gary, which is one of the many reasons I love you. But Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett's like monstrosity, like on offense. They rank 27th by offensive DVOA.
Yeah.
Like that is that is less than ideal. And Jeff, just like real quick too, a little fact that I saw here was Denver 0-5 ATS in its last 5 games, like on the road.
I mean, it's not shocking.
No. It's not shocking at all. I mean, it sounds like you and everyone else is backing is going to be just fingers crossed, leaning on that defense again and hoping like Russell Wilson can somehow find a way without. What did he say? He had a torn like lat or something like that.
Yeah, it's a torn lat. I mean, again, like you as Gary mentioned, I'm definitely playing for what I guess we'd call positive regression, right? Like I don't think in my mind that the Broncos offense can be this bad the whole season, but there's definitely a world where it can be. So, we're only talking about 5 games. They certainly haven't done anything in the red zone that's looked competent outside of run the ball, and their running backs have fumbled at an atrocious rate. So I don't know if that much is going to change. At the same time, like they are getting players healthier. They're getting a couple guys back.
Yep.
I think that when you put all of it together, you'll get a good enough effort out here to cover. But again, like the 4 is big. Like I really prefer the 4.5. I'm not exactly ecstatic about it at 4, but I think the Chargers have a few problems too. Like their line is a bit banged up, and then obviously Keenan Allen. Like I mean, I think that's a fairly significant loss for them. So yeah, this one. It's an interesting game. I'm actually weirdly excited to watch this one, even though I don't really want to watch the Broncos again. But I think the Chargers will make this one exciting in their own way. They're either going to have to play catch up or just be putting on a nice show of their own. So,
okay. So Russell Wilson still searching for that breakthrough performance with his new team. And over on the DFS side of everything here, there is a Monday night Millie Maker, everybody, on DraftKings. Only going to cost you $15 to get into here. Gerber, you said you wrote up an article about this on DK Nation. So where does Russell Wilson fall in your showdown lineup plans tonight? Is he part of it?
Not really. I'm pretty I mean, the injury is one thing. And even if we take him at face value and he's in fact feeling better, like that's great news. But, you start going through the stats, he's only averaging 0.41 DraftKings points per dropback so far this season.
Jeez.
That's less than, Mac Jones. It's less than Zach Wilson. It's like, it's really not where you'd want to be if you're Russell Wilson. And granted, a lot of that does come down to touchdown suppression and touchdown normalization. So if they start scoring more in the red zone, obviously he's going to be a more efficient quarterback for a fantasy perspective, but it's also not like this is just on Russell Wilson. among qualified quarterbacks this season, only one other QB has had more passes dropped than Russell Wilson. The Broncos have dropped 13 of his passes so far this season. Their offensive line has a bottom 10 adjusted sack rate, which is partly on Russell Wilson, just holding onto the ball. That is something he's been doing for about a half decade now. We know what the game plan is, but I think it's kind of not been talked about that much with the Broncos getting some players back, that they're now missing Garrett Bowles, their starting left tackle. I mean, this offensive line was already bad, and now you're arguably missing your best player. I would just worry that he's not going to get a lot of time. He's not going to get the time to take those deep shots he likes taking. And when you ask Russell Wilson just sort of like work his way down the field patiently, he tends to make a mistake at some point. So yeah, I don't think at his price point, Wilson is who I really want to trust. I think if you're building a lineup and you're looking for a high price captain, you'd have to go with the Chargers offense for me. They're just a more reliable unit. I think Eckler, I know he's the most expensive guy on the board, but someone who's seen 10 touches inside the red zone the past 2 weeks. I just think I'd rather go with a high-end Chargers player than a high-end Broncos player for captain. And then maybe you find value down at the bottom of the board with the Broncos, whether that's, Eric Sobert or, I mean, heck, Jeff brought up his name earlier, but
there he is.
What is it? It's Greg
Dulcich.
Greg Dulcich. Who, probably is going to play 20 to 35 snaps.
Got a great profile picture.
He really does. I look at his name and I want to see Greg Ulrich, actually.
It's very close.
It's not dissimilar. But yeah, I mean, look, he's going to be about as chalky a $200 play as you're ever going to have. But at the same time, it's a $200 play. And I think this slate is pretty top heavy. So he's the guy who makes some pricing things happen.
Okay, we got a Dulcich touchdown prop up. Plus
damn!
Sorry,
hot damn!
So
no, I think I saw you could this morning when we talked about it, Jeff. You can get, besides Eckler, you can get plus money on anytime touchdown for anybody else like in this game. And the Broncos, by the way, allowing the 9th fewest DraftKings points to running backs this season. So I don't know if we should really expect like a repeat performance from Austin Eckler, like from week 5. But on the flip side of that, and Jeff, you mentioned Mike Boone this morning, I think is a value play, or you've mentioned his name like a couple times. And the reason I like that, the reason I do like targeting that run game for the Broncos is because the Chargers defense allows the most DraftKings points to running backs, which is nearly 34 a game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's, if the Broncos can complete a couple passes early in this game, it's going to legitimately open up some monster holes.
Yeah.
And Mike Boone is capable on the ground. You just look at it. I mean, he's averaged like 6 yards per carry on the 10 carries he's had. He's an explosive runner. He's not like what you call the most well-rounded back, but you get him out in space, he'll take advantage. I mean, it's the reason why this guy's kicked around a couple different teams. He's got talent, and they bring in Latavius Murray, but and Hackett has said he wants to keep a rotation in. And that's why I think people will be a little bit scared of Melvin Gordon tonight, who is still questionable. I don't think we have actual guaranteed that he's playing. I think he's going to play.
Yeah.
And, I mentioned Cortland Sutton. He's still got the elite target share, but there's a scenario in this game where like one of Boone or Melvin Gordon, depending on like Gordon's status, could take over this game. Like I really do think that. I think like the Broncos complete a couple passes downfield to Cortland Sutton. And then they start giving Melvin Gordon the ball. If he just gets off, I mean, he can break out a couple runs, scores. All of a sudden, it's like 10-0, and Gordon gets more carries late in the game. That is a scenario that can happen. It doesn't seem likely, because the Broncos just don't score. But if they do start scoring, like the Chargers' run defense is not going to be able to hold up. So it's probably like the least likely scenario to happen, but it's definitely a scenario. So for showdown. Like I don't like Melvin Gordon, but I do sort of see the value in considering him as a captain.
Okay.
I mean, this is a player who could push for 14 rushes, 3 receptions, something like that, and find the end zone a couple times if he's healthy. And then if he's not healthy, Mike Boone as the value is going to get worked in anyways. I think Murray is like the wild card that really just depends on Gordon's health. But Boone is I think is a good value at 4,800. He's going to get worked in regardless. Okay,
well, speaking of Boone, Aaron Boone and the Yankees here will be hosting the Guardians tonight. They're supposed to, a little after 7 o'clock here, Garrett Bear. Game 5, ALDS. So there is a meeting that is starting this exact moment. There's a 6 p.m. meeting between the two teams because there's rain in the forecast. Between the two teams, there's a meeting in Major League Baseball to make a final determination on what they want to do. And according to reports, Joel Sherman here saying the sense among the parties right now is to try and play tonight, even if it means dealing with some rain. You got a couple other reports saying the Yankees apparently are pushing hard not to play. Guardians want to play. Right now, let's say this game is on, Garion, and the Yankees had travel hell trying to get back to New York today. After like last night, they had to find a hotel after their plane had mechanical issues. I think they finally flew back today during the sweat this morning. So right now, let's say they play. You being the big, beefy baseball guy that you are, what is your favorite bet in this one tonight?
I would just take the under.
Okay.
And this is a line that's moved. If I was a smart man, I would have just been betting my, entire life savings on Guardians unders this entire postseason. And I'd probably have like 7 houses by now because it is a team that just is not designed to score runs. And I do think there's a little bit of intrigue with Jameson Taillon against this kind of lineup. Taillon is someone who has been very solid for most of the season. And I think it's up for debate about how long Taillon would be in this game, even if he's pitching well. I think he probably gets an opportunity to face the lineup a second time through if he's been successful in the first couple of innings. But, he's someone who really changes his pitch mix depending on if he's facing a right-handed batter or a left-handed batter. Obviously, when he's right on right, he's relying on that slider, which has been one of his best pitches so far in 2022. When he's facing lefties, he's really relying on that changeup, which has been by WOBA and expected WOBA, his worst pitch. So a lot of the best Guardians hitters are left-handed bats. A lot of the few bats that have power in this lineup are left-handed bats. So in a sneaky way, I think that the Guardians might be able to sneak up on Taillon. While I also think Aaron Savale is a better pitcher than I think a lot of people give him credit for. I think when you look at the surface statistics, he wasn't great for the season as a whole by ERA. He was absolutely demolished on the road by ERA, despite the fact his FIP was actually better on the road than it was at home. But he's someone who really started to come into his own in the second half of the season, had a 27% strikeout rate, a whip of just 0.86, about a 6.5 strikeout to walk ratio. Like, he was really, really good the final 2.5 months of the season. I also don't know how long his leash would be. And the one advantage the Guardians do have, and I guess this advantage would get bigger if this game were to be postponed until tomorrow, but the top 3 guys in their bullpen, who are fantastic, haven't worked the past 2 games. So they're really fresh. And they've already shown a willingness to push those guys to their limit earlier on in this series. So I don't know if Savale really needs to throw more than 5 good innings. And then you're going to start seeing like Taylor Stefan, James Karinchak, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So I just think you're going to get a lot of the best relievers in this game. And you've already got a Guardians team that has struggled to do much offensively in the playoffs so far. So I think the under 7.5 is a pretty safe and solid bet.
Yeah, man. Rotation depth tonight, if the game's played, is going to be a factor in this winner-take-all game and a battle of number 4 starters. It does feel like Cleveland will have the edge when it gets to the bullpen part of the evening. Again, we'll see. Everybody keep an eye on DK Nation. Either way, if they play tonight, the losing team fan base will have all offseason to complain about it. And to be honest, it's a genius excuse. It really, really is. I don't know. This just has the feeling one of those games not going to end until like 3 a.m. It'll probably be like 20 innings, and it'll start at like 9 o'clock.
It's just kind of crazy because I understand the Yankees had some playing stuff. I get that, but what Aaron Boone is basically asking for right now is, hey, play this game tomorrow so Shane Bieber can start for the Guardians. Like if I'm the Yankees, I want this game to happen tonight. I want Aaron Savale on the mound, not Shane Bieber.
But see, doesn't since the Guardians are preferring to play tonight, wouldn't you assume that means they would not pitch Bieber on 3 days rest if the game were tomorrow?
Well, it'd be 4 days rest tomorrow.
It would be 4 days rest tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, he pitched on Thursday.
Oh, hot damn. Okay. Also, why did they take the off day after the first game?
They wanted to make sure there was baseball every day the past couple of weeks. They had to split. I know it's
whatever.
Just
And
blame.
Je-
You looking for things to blame like that? Just blame the
Yeah.
lockout, and that's
Okay.
that's why.
All right, that's good. And Jeff, I know you're a baseball guy too, because Jeff called the Padres beating the Dodgers. I want
Yeah,
everyone to know. So Jeff's not only a NASCAR guy, hockey guy, football guy. The guy literally talks about almost every sport at DraftKings. So I want you to know, Jeff, I see you and I appreciate it.
And I approve of all of Garion's analysis today.
Jeff's like 1 for 1 on bets. Bro, that happened with that happened with basketball. Remember that when you nailed like a couple of your basketball cross sport like
right, yeah, that's right.
I feel like you did really well at the NBA All-Star game too.
Yeah, yes. My guy's on fire. Both of you guys are fantastic. That was a great show. We got to go. Producer Eamon, thanks for letting us run a little late here. DK, thanks for the help. Everybody, we're back live in studio tomorrow morning for a Tuesday edition of The Sweat. Jesse Cofield and I will be there. So we'll see you at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Thanks so much, and enjoy the rest of your Monday night.
Can't wait to break down the